Hello, everybody. This is Data-Driven Market Forecasting, a post-pandemic commercial real estate insight for Seville's. My name is Chloe Roque.
I'm Jenny.
And I'm Shu.
And we are the Hilltoppers group from St. Edward's University. So just to go over what we're talking about today in our presentation, we're going to go over our challenge and context, our data overview, our supply and demand analysis, machine learning model, and insights for Seville's at the end. Our challenge and context, so the context we were given today was COVID-19 disrupted office leasing. Many companies have had to downsize, embrace remote work, or shift locations. Our question we're trying to answer today is how has occupancy changed since COVID-19, and can we predict future occupancy trends? The challenge is Seville's wants actionable insights to advise clients on location strategy. To go over our three data sets, we have leasing data from Seville's from 2018 and 2024. This goes over commercial leasing transactions for specific U.S. markets. We have external data, so U.S. 2020 versus 2024 census data for population information. And lastly, we have our major market occupancy data given to us. This is occupancy data from the 10 major markets.
So let's get into the supply and demand analysis. Notice that supplies mean what's available in the market and demands mean how much tenants are leasing, aka what's actually being used. Before we dive into the analysis, we're trying to understand who is our audience and how can we trying to help them. They are corporate tenants and landlords finding office leasing strategy. And in this analysis, we're trying to answer two main questions, which is where and when demand is dropping or rising, and which markets are tight, competitive, or soft, negotiable. So we utilize the external population data set to categorize our market size. Large markets, it's included cities that have population over 5 million. Mid-large means cities with 3 to 5 million populations. Mid-size means 1 to 3 million, and small, it's under 1 million population. For the demand analysis, we use the leased square foot columns as our main metric. And over time, we can see that there is a common trends that's in 2020, all the markets have a huge drop because of COVID. However, we see mid-size and large market both have very strong demand. Mid-size are the most resilient market with a very quick rebound after COVID. Mid-large and small markets are more stable and have smaller COVID drop. For the supply analysis, we use the average availability proportion over time as our main metric. And as we can see, mid-large are pretty flat. It reached its highest availability in 2021, and since then it's slightly declined. However, in large and mid-sized markets, we have a pretty steady growth. They both have a little bump in 2021. It's indicate the post-COVID recovery is pretty good. However, if we're looking at the small market, it starts with under 10% in 2018 and end with over 30% in 2024. It's a little bit suspicious, so we're trying to figure out why, and that's why we're looking at a different factor. Which markets are tight or soft, competitive or negotiable? We use the main metric to analyze it here. Its market tightness rate was calculated by the leased square foot divided by available space. It indicates how saturated a market is. High ratios mean most space is being leased. Low ratios mean more space is sitting unleased. If we take a look at the distributions, we can clearly see that small market have intense leasing activities is possibility due to lower inventory and stronger demand. However, stronger demand doesn't mean that it's healthy. That's why San Francisco is major contributor to the small market. And as we all know, it's overpriced and everyone is moving out of San Francisco. Tightness here may be caused by less new space and tenant downsizing, not necessary expansions, and is proven by 40% of available space in small market is sublet, not really direct. And if we take a look at large and mid-size, they are softer markets. It could be due to oversupplies of space. They have low quality buildings with 57% of O class, and it could be influenced by remote and hybrid work impacts. So for corporate tenants, they give you more options, better terms to negotiate, favorable lease. For investor, it's short-term risk, but could be long-term potential if the market rebounds. That leaves us with mid-sized markets are our golden area here. They have strong growing demands, as we know before, high quality buildings, reasonable overall rent price, ongoing developments with 70% buildings are suburbans, and they have cities that's expanding like Austin, Chicago, South Bay, and San Jose. for future decision making, we are trying to combine these two important metric, market tenants rate and occupancy rates reflects how much the space fills. So our target is finding the regions which has high occupancy and high tightness.
Perfect, thank you, Jenny. So next we're going to go into our machine model, which is going to predict occupancy rates in the future. So first things first, our cleaning and preparation for the model. We had to handle a lot of missing values, so we removed all our NA values after data merging and cleaning to ensure that the least amount of rows were lost. There were standardized market labels, so some inconsistency in market names were corrected. We had quarter mapping, so quarter values like Q1 and Q2 were converted to integer values to enable accurate model sorting. And we made a new column that took data from the previous 3 quarters to include the past and the present in our occupancy prediction model.
And so some of the columns that we used to predict our occupancy rate in our model included the quarters, what market we're in, and the number of leases in these markets, where these markets are located, where these leases are located, whether they're in the business district or in the more quiet suburban areas, how ideal these locations are and buildings are. Like Chloe mentioned earlier, the previous activity of different quarters, and as well as the population density, and area of the market. And in order to continue preparing for the model, we also split our data set into 70% training and 30% testing. And through running various models, our random forest regressor yielded the best results, with about 95% of the variance in the average occupancy proportion explained by our model, which tells us that our model was doing a very good job at explaining our target variable, and that's backed up by these other metrics that we show here on the screen. Using grid search for some hyperparameter tuning, we found that these parameters yielded the best results, and these suggest that our model is fine-tuned to balance the complexity of the data in our model.
Thank you. So for our insights for Seville's, just to go over our presentation one more time, we had our large and mid-large markets are softening, so high vacancy equals opportunity for tenants to negotiate better deals. Investors watch for some rebound potentials here. Our mid-sized markets are our golden zone, so Austin, Chicago, and South Bay, San Jose are poised for growth, ideal for strategic expansion, long-term leasing, and development. Tight does not always equal healthy. Tightness can signal distress, just not demand. So don't misinterpret low supply as a sign of growth. So don't overinvest. And lastly, how to use our model. Our model is predicting occupancy rate for the future quarters. And yeah, thank you for your time. Thank you.